We're part of Team 5.0, and Team 5.0 is one of the gameplay teams at TCP, and we're the ones that are going to be working on capitals. I'm sure you recognise some of the faces up there that work with us, all very wonderful people. So the capital rework is coming in the Citadel expansion. I want to make very clear before we start getting on with the rest of the presentation, the entire scope hasn't been finalised, guys. We're early in the process. I'm not going to be giving you a whole bunch of numbers today. That's not what today is about. Today is about concepts and gameplay. I want you guys to come up and talk to us about it. We're at Vegas. You should definitely come up and bother anyone, or especially me and Punkturis, but anyone, talk to us, tell us what you think, ask us questions, and we can go into more details. We're going to be forming a capital focus group. After Vegas, we're going to make a post on the forums and people can apply to be a part of it. I'm sure it'll be tweeted and be on all the usual social media channels, so if you want to get involved, jump in on that. And there's going to be a dev blog released either in a couple of hours or in like the next couple of days or something, which goes over everything that we're presenting today, and it'll have all of the pictures and graphics and whatnot. Before we get into the juicy details, I just want to re-go over the whole roles thing. As we said yesterday, we're sort of defining the class and the purpose of each of the different types of capitals. All capitals, including dreadnoughts, are going to get fleet hangars, ship hangars, and will allow refitting to their court mates. So there's a little bit more of a choice for my first capital. You don't always need to get a carrier, so you can carry your stuff around. You can go straight for a dread if you want to. All super capitals are going to get unique abilities. As I said yesterday, the gunships of the fleet are the dreadnoughts and the titans, and they're going to be able to do lots of damage with their extra large turrets and get unique doomsday abilities and some teleportation abilities on the titans. We're changing fighters and carriers and supercarriers. They're going to be able to project their fighter squadrons at long range. The fighters won't be able to leave the grid. They'll be on the same grid, but they'll be able to go all over the grid, and you'll be able to control them from there and use manage them with a new camera and UI that we'll go into later. Supercarriers will also have unique AoE abilities to back that up. And finally, the logistics role. This is some concept art of the new force auxiliaries. They're all vertical. So this is the Glenny one. This is the stuff that we showed yesterday. Every single one of them is going to be vertical. It's not the freighter guys. It's not the Dominics. It's the big vertical thing in the background, just to make that really clear. They're taking over the remote repair and triage role from carriers and supercarriers. They're going to have fairly limited combat capabilities. They're not going to be able to fit guns similar to carriers. And they will have a drone bay, but nothing like a carrier. It's going to be fairly small. They'll be able to launch at least one flight of heavies, probably. When they enter triage, they're going to transform, and that's when they can start repping. Outside of triage, their repair is going to be pretty anemic, and it's not really what we're aiming for. We're not exactly sure how we want to do the transition between carriers and supercarriers. Between carriers and force auxiliaries. We know a lot of you guys bought carriers specifically for their logistics role and their triage role. We've got some ideas about this. One of them includes something like every carrier that has a triage mod fitted on patch day might get turned into a force auxiliary. We don't know if that's what we're going to go with. We'd love to hear your feedback on how you think we could make that transition, so come and have a chat to us. They're also going to require new skills, but we'll make sure they're seated nice and early. Again, I'm not sure how we're going to go with if you've already got carrier trained up to 5 and you want to fly a force auxiliary, we're going to have to work at that. But I'm going to pass it over to CCP Punkturis to talk about carriers and fighters.
Thanks.
Sorry, that's the Mimitar one in the background. Again, it's not the freighter guys, it's behind the freighter.
We are moving from launching a fighter to launching a squadron of fighters that act like a single entity. There can be up to 5 squadrons based on your carrier or supercarrier, and there can be up to 12 fighters in each squadron. There will only be one type of a fighter in a squadron. There will be three types of them. There will be light, which you can use to shoot other fighters and small ships. Support ones to give Ewar support, and the heavy ones for shooting like big ship and structures, but they will go slowly. A squadron will have up to 3 abilities. There is micro warp drive and micro jump drive, which you can use just like your ship modules to move them around or make them jump or move faster. Evasive maneuvers, which will make a squadron hard to kill for a short period of time. Anti-fighter missile swarm is a special ability for killing other fighters, and it's extra powerful on heavy fighters. There is anti-capital torpedoes used to kill capital ships. Those will only be on heavy fighters. And electronic warfare effects like webbing and scrambling and neuting. And there will be specialized beam weapons, which are like a tiny doomsday. And the bombs, which is like a weaker version of bombs on the stealth bombers. These are not final, but this is stuff we've been thinking about. You will launch your squadrons from your inventory management. You can see your fighters in space, and then there's a launch deck, which are the ones that are ready to be launched. And then there's the hangar, where you can keep your fighters that you have ready to replace, like broken ones, or if you want to swap types, you can do all this in space. And you don't have to fill all your squadrons if you don't want to. We are planning on making like a squadron widget that will be swapped with your ship modules, so you don't have to manage everything at once. But for those that want to do that, we are thinking about making it draggable to a separate widget if you want to see everything. To go into more detail on each squadron, there's like, you can see the speed and what the order is, and the squadron type and the status of your members, if they're dead or damaged or alive. You can see Ewar effects being used in your squadron, and these abilities that you will use just like modules on your ships. Working with Team Psychosisters, we're making a new control UI. So you can click a point in space and send your squadrons there. That's pretty cool. And building on that, we're adding more info to the tactical overlay. Should see like, this is all work in progress, but should give you some idea on what we're thinking. You can see like if they're hitting or missing or where they're moving and what they're doing. And then we are using the camera coming in winter. There's like the basic change that you have now 3 different views. It's like the first-person view and a orbit view for like any item in space, which is like a improved version of the look at function we have already. And then there's the new tactical view, which is the touch camera, which will be very useful if you want to see what your squadrons are doing like really far away. And we have a video showing you how this works.
Also means you can look at things that are further than 150 or 100 kilometers away, like this Titan's 200 kilometers away from the Supercarrier. And marquee select. Hey, you got to make some money somehow.
And I'll hand it back to my homie, Larrikin.
So, as I said yesterday, we're adding brand new high-angle weapon batteries. These are for Dreads and Titans, and they're optimized for shooting subcapitals. They do a whole heap less damage than extra-large weapons. We haven't finalized the damage numbers, but we're thinking sort of in the 2K range for Dreads and 4 for Titans. But they have a really high rate of fire, so they're not so much alpha. They're going to be about the same range as current short-range extra-large turrets are, and they have about battleship tracking and application. They will certainly require extra-large ammo, just like extra-large turrets now, and you will need to be in siege on a dreadnought if you want to do any damage with them. We'd love to get some more feedback on what you think about the damage numbers, but yeah, let's talk about that later. As I mentioned yesterday again, we're adding meta, Tech 2, and faction variations to all of the existing capital lines. So that's all of the local repair systems, shield, armor, and hull, and remote repair systems. We're also going to be adding fall off to remote repair systems. So we haven't talked about that much yet. We've mentioned that. The way fall off works now with electronic warfare is once you're into fall off, there's just a chance whether your effect will apply at 100% or not. So if you're at, say, full optimal range plus 50%, plus full fall off, then you've got a 50% chance of that effect coming through. That's going to be different with these. Instead, if you're at full optimal and fall off, your reps are around about 50% of effectiveness. Use the exact same fall off formula that guns do, so we're not changing that, we're just changing the effectiveness versus chance sort of thing. And extra large turrets and launchers, we're adding all of the faction variations, Tech 2, etc. Skills for those as well, and Tech 2 ammunition. We are going to change the mechanics so that they're basically ineffective against subcatapult players and NPCs, but they'll certainly be effective against capitals and all sorts of capitals and structures. And we're adding some new modules. So yesterday we talked about propulsion mods. I want to go into a little bit more detail here. It's most likely just going to be a micro warp drive and afterburner. Doesn't make much sense on a capital. I don't think we're going to see SIG tanking capitals anytime soon. And we'll see about MJDs, no promises there. We're adding armor plates and shield extenders, and I'm going to go into a little bit more detail about this shortly. But let's just leave it there for now. Energy warfare neutralizers. Energy warfare modules, capacitor booster stuff, and capital warp disruptors and scramblers. So they're not going to work how you may expect. You're not going to get extra range out of these modules. Instead, you'll have extra scramble strength, which will become important very soon. Capital remote repair is going to be limited triage. We talked about this yesterday. Look, we just really don't like the N+1 gameplay of slowcat fleets. They're not super fun to be in, and they're not super fun to fight. So we thought we might kind of get rid of them. The total amount any single capital fleet will be able to tank after the Citadel's expansion will be effectively what one auxiliary can tank in triage. So if you can kill that and keep the rest of the fleet tackled, eventually you can work your way through their entire fleet, assuming you can stay alive. We are also going to stop you refitting when you have a weapons timer. So you guys are super smart, and especially some of the low-sec players, extremely talented with this. You'll have dreadnoughts that go from like full shield tank to full armor tank, and then throw on bulkheads just at the end to make sure they last the maximum amount of time. That's super cool, but it also means in big slowcat fleets, the guy that you're shooting at is going to refit to absolute maximum resists, while everyone else in the fleet refits to maximum repair, and they can switch that around really quickly. Makes it extremely hard to counter if you're in a subcapital fleet because you don't have the same ability. If you bring a whole bunch of jams, they can refit for ECM. So yeah, we're going to change that. We're not 100% sure how this is going to work with Siege and Triage. I would really like your feedback on that, on what you think might be some interesting ideas. The gameplay about refitting in Triage is really cool. But then we might just lock it down so you have to wait for your weapons timer to run out after 30 seconds and then you can start refitting. But we'll see. Come and chat to us about it. And as I said, we're removing electronic warfare immunity pretty much completely. That includes siege and triage. We're replacing this with some new statistics. Bit of a mixed reaction there. All right, so we're introducing some new statistics, guys. To start with, your Titan isn't going to be able to get tackled by one Rifter. We're going to give it a fairly high warp strength, somewhere in the 20 to 50 range, same for supers. We haven't decided yet, and we'd like to get some feedback. So yeah, that's where the capital warp disruptors and scramblers come into effect. You're going to want those extra points so you can try and lock down other capitals. We're also introducing some new attributes. We're going to introduce electronic warfare resistance. So if your Titan has 50% electronic warfare resistance, if someone tried to do, say, locking range damps on you, you could usually lock out to 100. The damps might damp you by 50%. Normally, you would only then be able to lock out to 50 kilometers. If you had 50% electronic warfare resistance, you could now lock out to 75. So it halves the effectiveness of any electronic warfare modules put onto you, which means you can counter some of this with your own modules, which can't be completely countered. And we're going to do the same thing for stasis weapon-firing resistance, remote repair resistance, and all the rest of those. Again, we haven't come down on exactly where we want these figures yet. We'd love some feedback from you. We don't want to see triage force auxiliaries instantly jammed all the time, so we're thinking that resistance is going to be pretty high, but we don't want to completely rule it out either. And as I said, we're changing the extra large guns, the existing extra large guns, obviously not the high angle weapon batteries, so they do very, very limited damage to subcapitals. It's going to be important what Dreads and Titan pilots fit before they go into battle. We're hopefully going to see some cool gameplay. We see a bunch of Dreads come in with high angle weapon batteries, they get counter dropped by extra large, like regular gun Dreads, and that gets counter dropped, etc., etc. So yeah, see how we go. We're also going to rebalance the hit point of pretty much every single capital. The Nidhogger isn't going to be the black sheep of the family anymore, guys. We don't have numbers for you today. I made that really clear. I want you to come up and talk to us about it. But all of these numbers are going to have to be rebalanced given the way weapons are going to be changing for Citadel combat and the whole damage ecosystem of capitals. So yeah, come up and have a chat to us about it. But we hope that, our current plan is that all carriers and dreadnoughts and force auxiliaries will be about the same level. This is a graph of just a base hit point without skill progression for subcapitals. As you can see, it's pretty nice, it doubles, but as soon as we start adding capitals to it, it's a little bit wonky. It's getting there. There's supers. And there's Titans.
Citadel.
So with subcapitals, again, this is without skills, this is without any fitting at all, guys. So with subcapitals, you get to throw in a whole bunch of armor plates to increase your base hit points, but they kind of don't really exist for capitals at all. We're going to be cutting the hit point levels that they're at now and giving you more interesting fitting options with these capital armor plates and shield extenders that you're going to be putting on there instead. And changing the fitting around so that you can't just fit everything on your capital, which you can almost do unless you fly a Chimera at the moment, which we're going to fix. So yeah, we want to make the fitting game a whole bunch more interesting if you're flying capitals. As I said yesterday, we're introducing some new doomsdays and other super abilities. The theme on all of these is that it should be fun for the person doing the doomsday and the person receiving the doomsday. So there's going to be ways for you to avoid all of this damage that's coming in if you're fast enough.
So what you're saying is we can speed tank it.
Questions soon, man. Titan and Supercarrier pilots are going to have interesting decisions to make on exactly where and how they place their doomsdays, and the fitting is going to be a whole bunch more important as well. We're expecting you're not going to be able to stick all of the doomsdays on your Titan, obviously. Anyway, let's start looking at some of the different ones, the ones we went over yesterday and some new ones. One point I did forget to mention is we're moving away from kind of the current alpha gameplay of doomsday. So these doomsdays aren't going to do the same damage that the existing doomsday does. So that side going through an enemy fleet isn't just going to pop frigates left and right. As I said yesterday, the Sickle class doomsday, I'm going to walk through the process involved in using this. Start with the Titan pilot is going to activate their module, and then they're going to get targeting UI, something like this, and they can choose the path of the doomsday to go. The next step is the Titan, needing a whole bunch of power to run this doomsday, neutralizes everything around it in an AoE effect. It drains the capacitor from everything around it. So, if you jump 20 Titans in and all start trying to doomsday, like, none of you are going to do anything. You're just going to doomsday block each other. After it drains the capacitor, make sure that you still have after it drains the capacitor in the area around it, make sure you still have enough capacitor, and then the warm-up beam starts. The warm-up beam starts moving through space. It shows everyone else where all this damage is going to go and gives a chance for people to get out of the way if they're quick enough or paying attention. And then the primary beam fires. Unlike current doomsdays, we can balance this on signature radius as well. And this isn't line of sight, so if you start hitting something close up, the beam will continue right to the back regardless. Like, you can't stop it halfway through. And it ignores, like, we don't care if it's friendly or not. So, oh shit. If you get in the way of this doomsday, it is not your friend.
Otherwise, it would be called a friendship.
Yeah, it's not a friendship beam.
How long is warm up in China?
This is a tech demo that we showed yesterday. You can see the targeting for this, selecting the two things. This isn't the final effect. Also, the warm-up beam isn't moving. This was like a bit of a proof of concepts for us. And it doesn't have the neutralizer effect as well, but you can kind of see how it works here. We haven't decided on the width of the doomsday, and we have some options there if it's going to be just a plane that intersects with whatever you get there, or if we decide to make it a little bit wider. We're going to have to play test that and balance it and see how we go. Here's just another shot of basically the same thing. So again, it's going to look heaps cooler than that, guys, I promise. The Pike class Doomsday. This is a little bit similar to the Sickle. It has the same warm-up effect, it uses the same targeting, except instead of doing a scythe through space, effectively you're just keeping it in one spot. It's going to be wider. We're not sure about the width yet, but we'll get to that. It will do the same neutralize effect, so you can't jump in 50 Titans and all Doomsday at once. You're going to have to actually work it out between you guys. And it gives a warm-up beam so people can try and get out of the way. The primary effect is obviously not going to look like this. This is a mock-up, guys. But it does a sort of a radius around this beam, damaging everything there. And the beam is going to last for 10 seconds, and every second it'll do damage. So it gives you a chance to get out of the beam if you're a little bit slow. Or if you're a siege dread, then just cop it. The Hand of God. Have you ever been so mad you just wanted to pick spaceships up and throw them? This is what it's used for you. Same thing though, there's a way of getting around this. So to start with, the Titan will generate an effect in space. It's really obvious something's about to happen here. It's not real great if you stay in the area. Bang, everything gets transported away from that spot, together to another point in the solar system. In fact, we're hoping we're going to make it so fast that if you're fighting with someone and you both get transported, you'll still have each other locked and the missiles will still be in space. And again, there's no such thing as friend or foe for Doomsdays, we just teleport everyone. Except capitals and super capitals. It'll instead warp disrupt them for a little while.
Is it a random spot or do you get to pick it?
It's a random spot. I don't have any concept art for this, but we have another one of the Doomsdays that we're going to be introducing. We're tentatively calling the sort of cap overload effect. Using advanced technology, this weapon destabilizes the capacitor on any ship, and after a short period of time, effectively that ship's capacitor explodes like an oversized smart bomb. And the more capacitor that ship has, the more damage it does to itself and any ships near it. So when the FC starts yelling at you, whoever just got Doomsday, get out of my fleet, get away from me, you should probably pay attention to what's happening on your ship. Or use all your capacitor or something.
Let's see what do.
We have a bunch of similar area of effect weapons for the supercarriers as well. We're considering certainly capacitor warfare effects, timed electronic warfare effects like sensor dampening, target painting, that sort of thing, stasis webifier debuffs, timed ones, and perhaps like a warp disruption bubble projector, like you can shoot dicta bubbles out.
Yes.
Evil.
Yes.
We haven't locked down all of these. There's still some information, like there's still some mucking around with the new dogma that we have to do to sort of verify everything. But if you've got some cool ideas, come and chat to us. Why not? Again, all of these doomsdays, there should be interesting choices for the doomsday and the doomsday. That's it. We're going to have some time for some questions now, and then there's also the Capital Roundtable at 1400 in Melrose 3. I'd love to see all your smiling faces there. I don't know how much time we've got left, but I think...
Half an hour.
Oh, all right, that's excellent.
What about the vault call?
Sorry?
What about the vault call? I had to ask.
No, that's cool. Test. There we go. Look, we've done some thinking about the rock wall. We haven't locked anything in yet. We're thinking we're going to remove the restriction on what sort of ships you can throw in its ship maintenance bay and basically add it to the capital line. But we're not ready to say anything else just yet.
I'm coming for you.
What are your considerations when you're sizing the ship hangar array that you're taking into consideration?
You're talking about the hangar array on the new hangar array on the...
On all the capitals, yeah.
Yeah. So we're kind of thinking we're going to keep it about the same. Basically, 2 battleships is what you'll be able to fit. Is that...
Supers too?
Supers are still going to stay where they are. What's that, 2.5 million M3, and Titans will be sitting at 5.
Thank you.
If you got... Do we want to get people coming up the front, Manifest? Or?
All right, yeah, my question's about refitting with a weapons timer. Is that only going to be for capitals that's going to be limited for? Or all ships? If that's so, why do you want to hurt the Nestor more?
It's going to be for all ships.
Rip, Nestor.
I love the Nestor.
All right, to speed this up of my running around, we'll just form a line right here in the middle. Be easier. We got about 15 minutes. All right? Good hustle, buddies.
How do you think this is going to affect C5 wormhole escalations in terms of battleship size sleepers and that kind of thing?
It's certainly going to slow down the speed you can do them. If you want to hit the sleeper NPCs, you're probably going to want to use the high-angle weapon batteries. The other ones won't do so much damage. Yeah, so we expect it'll probably slow down how fast you can do them.
Okay.
Do you guys have any intentions of changing the actual size of super capitals and titans? Because, I mean, if you put a titan next to a super, it's not really that big of a difference. And then from a battleship on?
Yeah, supers look a little bit small at the moment.
Yeah.
In fact, I think the Revelation dwarfs some of them.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's something we're looking at, but I'm not in the art department, and if I say anything, those guys will shoot me when I get back home. So.
Awesome, thank you.
Got a question for you.
Sorry, mate?
With all the new changes for the capitals, it's going to get more complex in the battle. How long do you expect fleet flights are going to take on average now?
Sorry, can you just repeat that?
How long do you expect fleet flights to take?
Kind of depends on you guys as players, but we expect them to be a whole heap more bloody now, like a lot more dead capitals.
Testing. You guys just...
So it's implied but not really stated, are carriers no longer going to be able to use normal drones?
That's correct. Carriers will no longer be able to use normal drones.
Okay. And then
The fall off for remote reps, is that going to apply to subcap logi as well?
No. Oh, sorry, the fall off, yes.
Yeah, the fall off range.
Yeah. We haven't finalised this yet, but at the moment our current thinking is we'll do something interesting so that shield fall off will get a longer fall off range and a shorter optimal, and armour will have a longer optimal but shorter fall off. But I believe that CCP Fozzy will probably be releasing a devlog in the next 2 weeks, or a post going through over all of those stats.
Okay, and are supers still going to be able to use carrier-sized fighters?
There's no longer a difference between the fighters that the carrier and the supercarrier can launch. The difference is effectively in the size of the squadron and how effective the squadron is. Okay. So we've got the 3 types of fighters: the light, the medium, or the support, and the heavies. And the types of fighter squadrons your carrier can launch will be limited. So, for example, a regular carrier might be able to launch 3 light, 1 support, and 1 heavy, whereas a supercarrier could launch 2 light, 2 heavy, and 3 heavy, or something like that. So yeah, that's how we're going to balance that.
Howdy. 2 quick questions. One, on behalf of Logi pilots, can we have a cooler name than Force Auxiliary?
Wow, you wound me.
We're not auxiliary. We're the thing that keeps everything alive.
You're the Force auxiliaries.
And please fix my Nidhogger. Second question, can you make the Rorqual have a mining laser that does that scything through the asteroid belt?
When I made that, CCB Fozzy said, "Why are you doing this in an asteroid belt? Someone's going to come up and ask you for a mining doomsday now." You're that guy.
My question is with fighter squadrons. So if I launch a fighter squadron and I'm sending it to shoot somebody, when they want to kill that fighter squadron, will they lock the individual fighters, or will they lock the squadron and then kill the fighters as it takes damage?
Yeah, so they lock the squadron as a whole. The squadron effectively acts as one unit. It'll be multiple fighters there, and then they just start shooting as a squadron as a whole and knock the fighters off out of that squadron.
Okay, and then just to confirm, so if I've got a squadron coming at me and it's got 12 fighters and I've killed 6, it's going to be doing half damage at that point?
That's correct, yes. Right. And all of the special abilities will also do half effectiveness.
Thank you.
So this is kind of more on the art side of it. Each Titan's Doomsdays are thematically designed with the graphic effect. Is their intention with the new Doomsdays to do that? Like the Leviathan will have a beam of missiles hitting in a line and of explosions through a fleet? Or are they all going to be laser-looking things?
We're hopefully going to have some differences, but there's not going to be like a laser missile line thing.
Well, I described it wrong. Like a bunch of
I get what you're saying. But no, it'll still be a beam on the Leviathan.
Okay.
How about faction or Tech 2 Supers and Titans?
Sorry, man, I didn't hear what you said.
Faction, Tech 2, Supers or Titans?
Oh, you want a faction or a Tech 2 Titan?
Correct.
Me too.
All right.
But we don't always get what we want. It'll be cool though.
I know you said you didn't. Can you hear me? Hello. I know you said that you didn't have any like direct numbers, but as far as scaling on DPS, what are we looking at for like the carriers with the new fighter system?
I'm sorry, you said something about scaling?
Like the DPS they're gonna put out, like how's that scale compared to where it is now versus where it'll end up? Are we gonna be doing more like a lot more damage or a little more damage? I mean, where are we sitting?
So that was on the fighters you were talking about, right?
Yes.
Yeah, right. So it's going to be a little bit different. We don't have phone numbers yet. We really need to playtest this and sort of see how it comes out. And it's not like just, your carrier will now do X amount of damage. The fighters are going to have different abilities, like torpedoes and short-range doomsdays and stuff like that. And also you're going to be having different types of fighters. So you could launch a light fighter squadron which might be super effective at hitting other fighters, but not super effective at ships. Or you can launch a heavy fighter squadron, which is great for killing battleships or carriers and stuff like that, but isn't going to be very effective against frigates. It's not just going to be like a linear, your carrier does X amount of damage. It's going to depend on what you launch and how you use it.
So I'm really loving the special effects or special powers on the Titans and Supercarriers, and I was wondering if you had put any thought into allowing the smaller ships, because I will never probably fly a Supercap, to be able to use the Sickle Doomsday or the Pike Doomsday on a Dreadnought in place of its guns in a kind of a suicide siege Doomsday.
At this stage, probably not. We kind of want to, I guess we want to inspire you to get a Titan.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
I've got two questions, one quick, one long. The quick one is will the war resistance be applied to all ships, or is this just going to be a capital thing?
It's a statistic we can actually put on any ship. At this stage, we're only putting it on capitals.
Okay. And my second question is given that all ships will be unable to refit with the weapons timer, what are you going to do to golems, or to marauders?
What do you mean, sorry?
Routing in a marauder pretty much requires refitting off of a mobile depot.
I'm sorry, I'm not really understanding what you're asking. Yeah.
Is it a PvP only weapon timer?
Oh, yes. Yeah, that's kind of our current.
Okay.
But don't take that as canon. We're going to have to think about that. Can you come up afterwards and have a chat to me about it?
All right, sounds good.
Yeah.
On the Doomsdays, on the Titans, are they going to be race-specific modules, or can like one Titan fire all three, just have to choose?
Sorry, you were asking if the Doomsdays are specific modules, or
Like modules, are they race-specific, so only like the Galente Titan can do one Doomsday and that's it? Or are they going to have the option of all three for all Titans?
Yeah, right. So they're not restricted to race. We haven't locked in if we're going to do like for example, a sickle type Doomsday for like 4 individual ones for each of the races, or if there'll just be one that all the Titans can fit, but they're all going to be modules, and you're going to have to choose on exactly what you fit there. There's going to be some fitting limitations. You can't just fill up all your highs with different types of Doomsdays.
Okay. So modules. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Hey guys, first off, looks like great work. 2 questions pertaining to Titans. My first one is with the area of effect weapons or the super death beam, any sort of thought to any granularity there, like the pilot has the ability to focus the beam, but it does more concentrated damage, or you can make it wider and hit a wider swath but less damage. Same with the neutralizer. The area is bigger but less cap drained, giving the pilot some granularity abilities and adding some depth to the weapon.
Yeah, we did have some thinking about that. Some people have also asked, how's the beam going to work with the distance it goes? If you pick a short distance, is it going to do less damage? What we're actually going to do is have like a fixed angle, so it might be a 45-degree sweep, and you can't change that. Like you can pick 2 points and it'll just sweep past that. You need to make sure you don't sweep that through your friends.
Yeah.
And at this stage, we're not thinking about giving any granularity to the beam width. Otherwise, everyone's just going to set it to maximum and just jump in more Titans.
Okay, the second question I had was, it seems like with the Titans at least, you've got your capital warship, but you've also got your subcap warship. Now, they almost seem a little separate. Leaderships, command ships tend to get alpha off field if they're discovered or whatever. Any thoughts to high slot modules that would be like a leadership base for the Titan group, that because they are kind of the special snowflake? Instead of a Doomsday weapon, you might put a leadership model in there that would give you like a buff across the fleet or with an area of effect in that regard?
Yeah, look, we've had some thoughts in that area, but I can't go into any details just yet.
Hey, I really like a lot of the changes you guys are doing, but I do have a slight concern with the disparity lately between the metas, because CCP lately has been focusing, in my opinion, more on like the smaller ships. You're releasing a lot of new ships regarding to small, which is great for new player experience. And then you have the offside of it with capitals, which is great. But I'm concerned about the meta of like battleships. They just seem to be getting alpha'd off the field all the time with dreadnoughts and stuff. And now that you're releasing modules that are going to be able to hit subcaps even better, it just seems that the slow battleship is pretty much going to be a dinosaur. Any kind of thoughts on what CCP intends on doing with that?
Yeah, look, and you're right. Some of the things we're introducing can certainly have a whole bunch more effect, especially on battleships that are a little bit slower. Conversely, though, capitals are going to be a whole bunch more vulnerable to all of those ships, to battleships, and that's as well, right? Like the new guns, they're not doing the same sort of 10k DPS and alphaing ships off the field anymore. With thinking about the 2k range, which is actually about double what or triple what a battleship does now, depending on the fit and everything else. Long term, I can't tell you about any sort of plans on battleships now, but we recognize it's an area we need to look at.
What happens when you cross the doomsday streams?
You never cross the beams, man.